Hey everyone, Gretchen Wegner here from the Anti-Boring Approach to Powerful Studying. And I wonder if you or a student you love are ever tempted to just throw a bunch of information into Quizlet when you're studying for tests. I had a student who's a sophomore in high school who I just met with, and it's spring break of 2019 when I'm making this video. And he has had to spend all of spring break studying Spanish because he got really, really behind. So his family hired me to work on study skills. And he has a two-week spring break. So last week, I didn't give him any specific guidance. We just broke all the chapters down into daily, like you need to do this part of the chapter, and the next day you need to do that part of the chapter. And he studied the way he wanted to. So what he chose to do there was throw all of the vocab and all of the grammar into Quizlet. So when he came to me later in the week, last week, he had done Quizlet. And I suspected that that may not have been the best study technique for him. So I taught him how to take some notes on paper, pretending that he's a textbook writer, and it's his job to read the textbook, that his teacher gave him, but make a shortened version of that on paper in his notes. So just today, he brought that back, and I looked at it, and he'd done a wonderful job. And I asked him, "Do you think you learned better that way versus Quizlet?" And he said, absolutely. And it was it like took less time, but it took more brain power. So I wanted to create this whiteboard to summarize what he and I learned. And we talked about how your brain is like a dimmer switch, and you can turn it on a little bit or you can turn it on a lot. So I decided we would compare just like reading the textbook with making a Quizlet with taking paper notes. So I think he agreed that just like looking at the textbook and just reading it to review, that only turned the dimmer switch of his brain on a little bit. So that's why I just drew this little bit now. Quizlet, he said it wasn't that much actually. He said I was kind of just reading and typing and I wasn't really paying attention. Now, if he had spent a lot of time quizzing himself on Quizlet, it might have been higher, but I'm going to have this part of the graph say that the dimmer switch of his brain went on just about that much with Quizlet. But he said that he had to put so much effort into looking at the textbook and deciding, like, gosh, if I were to be writing this textbook in a shortened way, how would I write it? And that effort really made his brain turn on. Here's what's interesting is it didn't take more time. It was just more effort. So I would say that paper notes, especially using this fake textbook technique that I teach in my anti-boring approach to powerful studying, made the dimmer switch of his brain go all the way to fully bright, fully on. So I recommend that whenever you're tempted to use Quizlet, it's not a bad thing to use at all. But if I were you, I would do paper notes first. And then as you study your paper notes, and I taught him to do that in a quizable way, which I don't have time in this video to share with you now. But if you then do Quizlet for only the things that you're having a really hard time remembering, that's a better use for Quizlet. So anyway, I'd be so curious to hear your thoughts. Gretchen at GretchenWegner.com is where you can send them. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.